Welcome back to Legalese 123, where we are covering cases across America. Hello and welcome back to Legalese. I'm your host, Missy K. Hope you all are doing well. It is Friday, the 16th of January. We are in the evening, actually, right now. We are on day 3 of the Brendan Banfield Au Pair affair trial. Let me give you a quick recap. Brendan Banfield is a federal agent with the IRS. He and his wife, Christine, hired an au pair. Her name was Juliana Magalhaes, to take care of their 3.5-4-year-old daughter. This was in 2022. About, we'll say, a year, Brendan and Juliana began to have an affair. In 2024, on January, according to Juliana, Brendan had a plan to unalive his wife. He didn't want to have a divorce. He didn't want to have to pay for her. He posed as his wife, Christine, got an account on a fetish website, asking for specific things to be done to her in her home. And he posed to potential suitors and stated that he and Juliana were the ones conversing with these potential people. Joe Ryan was one of the people who had answered the call to action. Joe showed up on the 23rd or 24th of February, and entered into the Banfield home. It was unlocked. Brendan unlocked the door, came into the bedroom where Christine was sleeping, surprised her, took her clothes off. Brendan and the au pair were outside. Brendan was at McDonald's. The au pair was outside. They eventually came into the basement, went up through the backside of the stairs, and were the heroes saving Christine. Shot Joe Ryan, and then allegedly, Brendan unalived his wife, Christine, to make it look like Joe had done it. Joe had actually arisen from the being initially shot, and then Juliana shot him. Juliana pled guilty. Again, we're not sure. I think she pled guilty to manslaughter. I'm not sure what her charges are going to be. It's quite convoluted. Still not 100% sure. I'm going into this as a juror. I haven't done any research prior to this. And so we're on day 3 in the second half of the trial because they tried to break them up, so it wasn't a very, very long stream. So if you have not watched my coverage on these cases and you want to do that, go back into the show notes, go under the Brendan Banfield, and you'll see what I've covered thus far. I'm also doing quick clips, less than 2 minutes or 3 minutes on YouTube, TikTok, and the X. So if you want to hear any, or my Facebook page. So if you just want quick clips of what's going on, then that is where we're going to be. So we're going to get back into it. Day 3 happened yesterday. We're catching up. They did not have court today. They will not have court on Monday, but we will be back on Tuesday. So let's go ahead and bring this up and let us begin. All right, this is Commonwealth's witness number 13.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state and spell your name for the court record?
My name is Kara McCarthy, CARAMCCARTHY.
And what is your occupation?
I am the supervisor of the Firearm and Toolmark section at the Virginia Department of Forensic Science, the Northern Laboratory in Manassas.
And how long have you been employed by the Department of Forensic Science?
For almost 12 years.
And for how long have you been assigned to the Forensic Firearm and Toolmark section?
Okay, I just want to make sure that we are on the right speed. Yep. Because it goes really slow if we don't.
Time.
What is firearm identification and analysis?
Firearms identification has a primary concern to determine if a bullet, a cartridge case, or other ammunition component was fired from a particular firearm.
And how is firearm identification possible?
Firearms identification is possible because most manufacturing processes involve the transfer of rapidly changing microscopic markings onto various tool surfaces, like firearm parts. And these firearm parts may impart markings onto ammunition components when they come in contact with each other. And then I can evaluate these markings on ammunition components in the laboratory using microscopy.
And where did you work before you worked for the Virginia Department of Forensic Science?
I was previously employed as a firearm and toolmark examiner with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Division of Forensic Sciences in Decatur, Georgia.
And could you please describe your duties as a forensic firearm and toolmark examiner?
Some of my job duties include evaluating firearms-related evidence that is submitted to the laboratory, analyzing the results of that evidence, reporting on my findings in a certificate of analysis, testifying when requested, providing training to scientists in the section, and also managing the day-to-day operations of the section.
And approximately how many firearms examinations have you conducted in your career?
Approximately 2,500.
What's your relevant educational background?
I have a Bachelor's of Science in Forensic Science from Baylor University, and I also have a Master's in Education from the
Baylor.
University of Notre Dame.
And what specialized training have you had in the field of forensic firearm and toolmark examination?
When I started my training at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, I underwent a rigorous training program with GBI and NFSTC, National Forensic Science Technology Center. And during that time, I successfully completed numerous oral, written, and practical examinations in multiple blocks of instruction in the firearm and toolmark discipline. I also attended a comprehensive manufacturing plant tour. I was qualified to work cases in the firearm and toolmark section, and I did so for a period of time before I accepted a position with the Virginia Department of Forensic Science, again, went through a brief training program with Virginia, and again, was qualified to work casework in the firearm and toolmark section.
And have you had occasion to train others in the field of forensic firearms and toolmark analysis?
Yes, I have.
And what subjects have you taught?
I've provided training in the firearm and toolmark discipline to trainees in the section. I'm also an adjunct instructor for George Mason University. I teach their firearm and toolmark identification class for their graduate forensic science program.
Have you previously been qualified as an expert witness in the area of forensic firearm and toolmark examination and analysis?
Yes, I have.
And why did you decide to get into this? You went to Baylor. Did you live in Texas? Are you like one of those card carrying NRA members with your guns? Just asking for a friend.
And in what courts have you been so qualified?
She just doesn't seem to type.
I have testified in several courts in the state of Georgia, as well as numerous courts in the Commonwealth of Virginia, including the counties of Fairfax, Loudoun, Prince William, Page, and the cities of Winchester, Alexandria, Norfolk, Portsmouth, among others, and United States District Court, the Eastern District in Alexandria.
Do you have an estimate as to the number of times that you've been qualified as an expert?
I have testified approximately 89 times. A majority of those I was qualified as an expert.
And do you have an estimation of how many times you've been qualified as an expert in Fairfax County?
About 9 times.
Judge, I would ask that the witness be qualified as an expert in the area of forensic firearm and ammunition examination comparison, as well as muzzle to target distance determination.
Any objection? All right, so move it.
Are you familiar with the components of a cartridge?
Yes, I am.
And did you bring a demonstrative to help explain this to us?
Yes, I did.
Could you please
Yay!
could you please describe these components for us with your demonstrative?
Yes, Your Honor, may I retrieve it?
Yes.
This is a demonstrative aid of a cartridge. A cartridge is a single unit of ammunition, and it's made up of 4 parts: the primer, the cartridge case, the propellant inside the cartridge case, and the bullet.
And are you familiar with the functioning of a semi-automatic firearm?
Yes.
Could you explain how a cartridge is fired from a firearm?
Cartridges are loaded into the magazine, and the magazine is inserted into the frame of the firearm. On top of the frame sits a barrel and slide. Pull the slide of the firearm rearward and let go. As the slide travels forward, it will strip a cartridge from the magazine into the chamber of the firearm, which is the rear portion of the barrel. At that time, the firearm is ready to fire. Put your finger on the trigger and pull the trigger rearward. This will release the firing mechanism, and the firing mechanism, the firing pin, will strike the primer of the cartridge. The primer will ignite the propellant. The propellant will burn, and gas will build up and force the bullet out of the cartridge case and down the barrel of the firearm. The energy will send the slide traveling rearward, where the extractor will extract the cartridge case out of the chamber, and the ejector will kick the cartridge case out of the firearm. The slide travels forward again, stripping a new cartridge from the magazine into the chamber. And you can repeat the process by pulling the trigger again.
And
Nice.
Can you describe the process by which you examine firearms and ammunition components in a laboratory setting?
I routinely examine firearms and ammunition components like bullets and cartridge cases in the laboratory. Regarding firearms, I conduct a visual and physical examination to determine if they are in working order. I check the safety features of the firearm and test fire the firearm at the lab. Regarding ammunition components, I evaluate these microscopically to determine if they have suitable markings on them for comparison to other ammunition components in the case or to test fires that I produce from a firearm.
And were you asked to analyze firearms, magazines, ammunition components, and a T-shirt for this particular case?
Yes, I was.
At this point in time, I am going to ask to admit what I believe is going to be Commonwealth's probably 235. And it is, I've got it in a box over here.
All right. Any objection to 235?
Can I see what 235 is? So can
I
you
think
just
it's a fire- I
imagine
think it's a
that they have
firearm.
got to go through each one of these things to get this evidence admitted? This is going to be a very long trial. We're just
Okay, no
only
objection.
at
235?
guns,
235.
right? We did somewhat of the knife. Now we're at guns. We got a whole bunch of DNA to take care of. And then I don't know what else. And there's a holiday, so they didn't go today, which is Friday. They're not going on Monday. So all 4 days next week. Oh boy. Let's zoom past her little clickety
Yes, I
clack.
recognize Commonwealth's Exhibit Item 235 by the laboratory number N231753 and the initials on the container, my initials on the container.
And what is the item?
This item is a firearm. It's a Glock Model 19M 9mm Luger pistol.
And when you began your examination of this firearm, were there any
Right, point it
attachments on
down,
it?
please.
Yes,
And what was the attachment?
there is a flashlight that's attached to the firearm.
Was it necessary to remove that flashlight?
Yes, for my examination.
And what did you do to determine whether this firearm was in working order?
I performed a visual and physical examination on the firearm. I checked the safety features of the firearm, and I also test fired it.
And what was the result of your examination?
This firearm, the Glock Model 19M, was found to be in mechanical operating condition with the safety features functioning properly.
And are you familiar with the item number 1 on your certificate of analysis lab sheet?
Yes, I am.
And what is that item?
Item 1 on the certificate of analysis for laboratory number N23-1753 is a 9mm Luger cartridge case.
And tell us how you went about analyzing item 1.
I microscopically examined the item 1 cartridge case and compared it to test fires that I produced from Commonwealth's Exhibit 235.
And what was the result of the examination?
The item 1 cartridge case was identified as having been fired in Commonwealth's Exhibit 235, the Glock Model 19M pistol.
And are you familiar with item 80 on your certificate of analysis lab sheet?
Yes.
And what is item 80 and how many parts did it have?
Item 80 on the certificate of analysis for N23-1753 contains 3 bullet fragments and 2 lead fragments from autopsy.
And whose autopsy are they from?
The autopsy of Joseph Ryan.
And tell us how you went about analyzing these bullet fragments.
The bullet fragments were designated items 80A, 80B, and 80C. These were microscopically examined, and the item 80A bullet fragment was compared to test fires produced from Commonwealth's Exhibit Item 235, the Glock Model 19M pistol.
And we can put that item aside, and we're going to move on to the a different firearm.
All right, let's zoom past this because
Recognize this item?
Yes, I recognize this item by the laboratory number N23-1753 and my initials on the container.
And what is it?
This item is a firearm. It's a Glock Model 43X 9mm Luger pistol.
And what did you do to determine whether this firearm was in working order?
I performed a visual and physical examination on the firearm, checked the safety features, and I also test fired the firearm.
And what was the result of your examination?
This firearm, the Glock Model 43X, was found to be in mechanical operating condition with the safety features functioning properly.
And are you familiar with item 2 on your certificate of analysis lab sheet?
Yes.
And what is item 2?
Item 2 for laboratory number N23-1753 is a 9mm Luger cartridge case.
And can you tell us how you went about analyzing the cartridge case?
I microscopically analyzed the item 2 cartridge case and compared it to test fires that I produced from Commonwealth Exhibit 236, the Glock Model 43X pistol.
And I'm sorry, what was the result of the examination?
The item 2 cartridge case was identified as having been fired in Commonwealth Exhibit 236, the Glock Model 43X.
And are you familiar with item 81 on your certificate of analysis lab sheet?
Yes, I am.
And what is it?
Item 81 on laboratory case number N23-1753 is a bullet from the autopsy of Joseph Ryan.
And tell us how you went about analyzing this bullet.
I microscopically examined the bullet, item 81, and compared it to test fires from Commonwealth Exhibit 236, the Glock Model 43X pistol.
And what was the result of your examination?
The item 81 bullet was identified as having been fired from Commonwealth Exhibit 236, the Glock Model 43X pistol.
Did you memorialize your conclusions in a certificate of analysis?
Yes.
In a moment, I hope to show you that.
So the guns were fired. Those guns were the guns that did stuff to Joseph Ryan.
Oh. What's that?
Are they having tech issues? Live trials are fun, but if
The
you have
document that's
Zoom
displayed on your
room,
screen. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
And I'm going to scroll through it. This has been stipulated to its admissibility. Is this your lab sheet?
Yes, it is.
And
oh boy.
can you know the date for us?
This is the certificate of analysis that I produced on this case. The certificate of analysis is dated April 11th, 2023.
And does this lab sheet reflect the results that we've just discussed?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Judge, if we could terminate this view, I would ask to admit this as Commonwealth 234.
Any objection to 234? You need your microphone, Mr. Carroll. I can't.
I don't have an objection, Judge, but I'd like to leave this up for cross-examination.
Oh, I don't, are you done now? Or-
I have one more
Okay,
section.
that's fine, yes, but I'm sure they can leave it up for you.
Yes.
Okay,
Uh,
so it is an evidence, as 234, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Were you asked to do an additional analysis in this case at a later date?
Yes, I was.
What type of analysis were you asked to do?
I was asked to perform a muzzle to target distance determination examination.
And which items did you use?
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to know. How close are people? Now, I don't know which one she did. How close was Brendan to Joe when that happened? And how close was Juliana when she shot?
Which exhibits and items did you use to do that?
For that examination, I used item 83, which is a t-shirt. I also used item, it's my item 5, the Glock Model 43X pistol and cartridges in the case.
And is that the
So it's
Glock
what
43X
Juliana
pistol that we just examined here?
Yes.
What is a muzzle to target distance determination?
A muzzle to target distance determination is an examination that's conducted in an attempt to determine the approximate distance the muzzle of the firearm was from the target at the time of firing.
And how is it possible to determine how far away a firearm was at the time it was fired?
When a firearm is fired, not only does the bullet exit the firearm, but also gunshot residues. These residues leave the firearm in the shape of a cone, and they are comprised of burned, unburned, partially burned gunpowder particles, as well as vaporous lead or smoke, lead particulate, and really anything else that's in the barrel at the time of firing. And these residues can be deposited in a predictable and reproducible pattern at certain distances. So in the laboratory, I can examine items of clothing, examine them for gunshot residues, and then compare them to known targets that I've created in the laboratory.
Did she look at the
And
autopsy?
how do you conduct this examination in the laboratory?
Regarding the evidence item of clothing, I visually, microscopically, and chemically process that for the presence of gunshot residues. I also create test targets at known distances and compare those test targets to the results of the evidence clothing.
And were you able to draw any conclusions about the distance between?
Okay, sorry. Were any more Backstreet Boys t-shirts harmed in recreating this event? Sorry, I had to. I'm funny. I hope you laughed because it was funny.
The muzzle of the 43 axe and the hole in the t-shirt?
Yes.
And what was that conclusion?
The t-shirt, item 83 on my lab report, had a hole in the front left middle area. And this area was visually, microscopically, and chemically processed for gunshot residues, and no pattern of residues was found. Therefore, this is indicative of the muzzle of the Glock 43X having been greater than approximately 21 inches from the hole in the shirt at the time of firing, barring the presence of an intervening object.
And did you memorialize your conclusion?
Hang on, let's go back.
And were you able to draw any conclusions about the distance between the muzzle of the 43 axe and the hole in the t-shirt?
Yes.
And what was that conclusion?
The t-shirt, item 83 on my lab report, had a hole in the front left middle area. And this area was visually, microscopically, and chemically processed for gunshot residues, and no pattern of residues was found.
Okay. No pattern of residue found.
Therefore, this is indicative of the muzzle of the Glock 43X having been greater than approximately 21 inches from the hole in the shirt at the time of firing, barring the presence of an intervening object.
And did you memorialize your conclusions in a certificate of analysis?
Yes, I did.
21.
And Judge, if I could have this next item displayed only to the witness.
21 inches. This is 21 inches. I don't know if you can see it.
Do you see the document on your screen?
Yes.
And this is, I'm asking to admit this is Commonwealth 231, and it has been stipulated too.
I already have 231 as Christine's phone with
Oh, I'm sorry. Then
the app showing.
we'll do that as
Correct, Jan?
235,
235 is the firearm Glock 19M.
236,
236 is the firearm Glock 43X.
237,
That is blank.
237.
237. Any objection? All right. Thank you.
I'm going to scroll through this so that you can see. Is this your lab sheet?
Yes.
I don't have any further questions for you. Mr. Carroll is
21
going to have some
inches
questions for
is
you.
about this
I'm going to
big.
separate for this for just a moment so that only the lab sheets that Mr.
Okay.
Carroll is looking
All right,
for are showing.
Take a moment
So,
to do that.
it's
Mr. Carroll, you
very
need the firearms
close
themselves for your
range?
cross-examination? Okay.
I don't
You can
know.
bring them over here. And Deputy
The
Johnson, thank you.
expert. Maybe Mr. Carroll can give us some information.
in prep, or I think we previously had spoken.
What is
Prep, or I guess months before this trial date.
here? It
I had indicated that I was going to stipulate to your lab sheets when they asked me to do that, but I did have some questions related to how you receive the firearms and what you do with the firearms after you're done. That's okay. So at some point you receive, and if I'm assuming something wrong, please tell me.
Okay.
At some point you receive the firearms from the evidence detectives at Fairfax County Police Department, correct?
The firearms are submitted to the laboratory to evidence receiving specialist, and that's when they get a laboratory number assigned to them and they're entered into our system.
Okay, and so there's someone in your organization that takes it and then brings it to you for whatever the specific test is?
They receive the evidence from the agency. They may transfer that evidence to the section, or I may pick up the evidence at their section.
Okay, and I think we're talking about on 235, Exhibit 235, we're talking about the Glock 19M?
Yes.
Okay. Was it packaged like it was today for you when you opened it up?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so same packaging, and then you put yellow tape over it after you're done?
That's correct.
Okay, and when you took it out, what was the condition of the firearm when you got an opportunity to handle it?
I can refer specifically to my notes, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Can I refer to my notes, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
And the action of the firearm. The Glock Model 19M was received in a closed brown bag with a zip tie through the action of the firearm, and a flashlight was attached to the firearm. And there was possible biological material that I noted on the firearm.
Okay, and the biological material, would that have been blood?
That's outside my area of expertise.
Okay, well, I guess that my question is there any sort of a cleanup of that firearm in order to do the things that you do to test it?
No, I did not clean the firearm.
Okay, and are there any instructions to police department evidence clerks or detectives who are bringing things like firearms to you and how they should be in, what condition they should be in before you get them?
Firearms can be submitted to the laboratory in the same condition that they are recovered in, particularly ones that are submitted in water. We want the agency to submit the firearm with water or in water.
Okay.
That didn't quite answer
And
your
is there any
question.
situation where you would want them, if say there were other tests that needed to be done, where you would advise them to do other tests before the tests that you do?
There are some agencies that do test fire the firearm for entry into the NIBIN system before it's submitted to the laboratory.
And was that done in this case, do you know?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So the testing, would the testing have you done that you did in creating this lab sheet, would that have caused any contamination to any later blood analysis that was on the gun?
Again, any analysis regarding biological materials outside my area of expertise.
Okay, so there are no policies or anything regarding that?
Typically, if there is a request for a DNA test or a latent print test, that would occur before it comes to the firearms section.
Right, that's what I said.
Um,
So did somebody miss the ball? Did they not care?
I have no further questions, Judge.
All right, redirect.
So is it not in dispute that, I mean, he said clearly on the 911 call, I shot him. So is that they're like, okay, you shot him, that's not a big deal. I don't know what he's getting at. There was blood on his gun.
Neither of these firearms were submitted to you in water, correct?
That's correct.
No further questions, Judge.
All right, is witness subject to recall?
No, Judge.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Uh-oh, what did I do with my highlighters? There we are. All right, that was
Your next
for
witness.
13.
Colombo, please.
Catherine, I'm sorry, what's the last name?
14.
Colombo, thank you. Catherine Colombo.
Catherine Colombo, you're up next. Uh-oh, spinning wheel of death. Come on. Come on. Uh-oh. Come on.
Thank you.
Where are we? Oh, she's got a big binder. Oh, boy.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Could you please state and spell your name for the court record?
My name is Catherine Colombo. My first name is spelled Kathryn. My last name is spelled Colombo.
Thank you. What is your current occupation and where are you employed?
I'm a forensic scientist. And I'm employed by the Virginia Department of Forensic Science
And how long have you worked for DFS?
for 18 years.
Did you have any experience in forensic DNA testing prior to DFS?
I did. I was employed for 9 years as a DNA analyst at a private forensic DNA testing laboratory. I was employed for 3 years at the FBI laboratory, conducting testing in the serology and DNA analysis units. And I was employed for 1 year at the Suffolk County Laboratory in New York in the same capacity, conducting body fluid testing and DNA testing.
Outside of your extensive
Yay!
experience, did you have to go through any specific training to become a DFS employee?
At DFS, and actually for each of my places of employment, there was specialized training with supervisory and senior scientists, and it involved a combination of attending lectures, reading the literature, processing a wide range of samples in the laboratory, and then successfully completing laboratory written and oral competencies.
Thank you. What are your responsibilities as a forensic scientist at DFS?
I examine items of evidence for the presence of body fluid stains, such as blood and semen. I conduct DNA testing. I issue reports of my results and interpretations, and I testify in court when needed.
Speaking of testimony, have you testified as an expert before?
I have.
All right. Do you recall testifying as an expert in Fairfax County?
Yes,
How many times?
approximately 30.
All right, thank you. Judge, at this time, I would offer Ms. Colombo as an expert in the field of forensic science and DNA analysis.
Any objection? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Colombo, can you briefly describe for the jury what DNA is?
The letters are an abbreviation for deoxyribonucleic, and it's the chemical substance found in our bodies that contains all the information and instructions
Skipping, sorry.
that a person needs to develop and function during his or her lifetime. So it contains the information and instructions that influence the person's physical traits, and it contains the information and instructions that directs and regulates cellular processes occurring in the body. We inherit our DNA from our parents, half from our father and half from our mother.
And can you describe for the jury what DNA typing is?
Forensic DNA typing is a laboratory procedure that examines locations or regions of the DNA where individuals may have different DNA information. It's used to determine if an evidence profile, perhaps it's a profile from a sample from the crime scene, it's used to determine whether that evidence profile could or could not have originated from certain individuals whose DNA has been submitted for comparison. And this information can be useful in the investigation of a criminal case.
So how do you do this? What is the process that you use at the lab to type DNA?
It's a multi-step process, and it begins with a DNA extraction. And this is the step where the cells present in the sample are broken open to release the DNA, and then the DNA is purified of other cellular material. Then an assessment is made of the quantity and the quality of the DNA. Then a technique is used to label and make millions of copies of specific regions of the DNA. And at the end of this step, I have labeled copies of DNA fragments of different lengths. I then utilize an instrument to separate the fragments by size and detect the labels. And the information or the data from this instrument is imported into a software program that allows me to visualize the DNA profiles.
And what is the name of that software program, if you will?
That's called Gene Mapper.
Okay. Do the terms PowerPlex fusion mean anything to you?
Yes, that's the name of the routine DNA test that I conduct, and it examines 24 regions on the DNA. I also conduct Y chromosome testing, which examines 17 regions on the Y chromosome.
What information do you then rely on for your statistical analysis?
For that analysis, I use the actual data for the evidence profile being evaluated, and I use population studies of the frequencies of the DNA types that's provided by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And I'm utilizing standards and guidelines in the field, as well as my own laboratory's procedures.
All right. Let's talk about other types of testing that you might perform outside of DNA. Do you test for bodily fluids?
I do.
Okay. And what information do you use, or what methods do you employ to detect the presence of bodily fluids?
Body fluid testing, blood is indicated using visual and chemical tests. For seminal fluid, these tests are done using visual tests, chemical tests, and/or immunological tests. I also conduct a microscopic examination for spermatozoa, which are the male reproductive cells.
All right. So I think later we're going to see not confirmatory. What does it mean when the results of these tests on bodily fluid are not confirmatory?
Yes, so the blood and the seminal fluid tests that I do are called presumptive tests. And it means that a substance could possibly cause a positive reaction when either of those body fluids are not actually present. The identification of spermatozoa with a microscopic examination, that is a confirmatory test.
Thank you. So did you receive evidence collected from each of the 4 individuals involved in this case?
I did.
And what did you receive? Specifically, did you receive perk kits?
I did.
Okay. What is a perk to your knowledge?
It's a kit that contains samples and swabbings from various body areas.
And did you receive a perk from Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan?
I did, and each contained a blood sample from which I produced a DNA profile to be used for comparison to evidence profiles.
All right. And then from Juliana Perez Magalhaes and Brendan Banfield, did you receive a different type of material?
Yes,
What did you receive?
I received buccal samples from each, and a buccal sample is a swabbing of the inside of the mouth, of the inner cheeks, and it's a way for an individual to provide a DNA sample from which a profile can be developed and used for comparison to evidence profiles.
So you were able to develop a DNA profile for each of the 4 individuals involved in this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You were then given a number of items to test for the presence of DNA and compare to those 4 profiles, right?
Yes,
Okay. Approximately how many certificates of analysis did that produce?
5.
I'm going to draw your attention to what I would like to offer into evidence as Commonwealth's 160, the lab analysis sheet from May 22nd, 2023.
Any objection? All right, 160 in evidence?
And if that can be published, please.
Yes.
All right, do you recognize this exhibit?
I do.
Can you identify what it is?
It's the certificate of analysis that I issued for laboratory case number N231753, and it's dated May 22nd, 2023.
All right.
DNA.
Let's walk through the items that you tested that resulted in the production of this certificate of analysis. We see item 10, the knife, and if I can have the court
Okay, so we're on the knife.
share Commonwealth's 114,
D-
previously
The
admitted.
knife.
Is this the item that you tested?
It appears to be yes.
All right. Tell us about your results.
I collected a sample of red-brown staining from the sharp edge of the blade, and I recovered a sample of red-brown staining from the heel of the blade, and blood was indicated in each of those samples. And I developed the same DNA profile from each of those samples. And Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of that profile. Brendan Banfield, Juliana Perez Magalhaes, and Joseph Ryan were each eliminated as contributors of that DNA profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from these 2 samples is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion, which is the approximate world population. And that was the case when I did the calculation in each of the 3 population groups, the Caucasian, the African American, and the Hispanic. I then recovered a sample of red-brown staining from the underside of the handle where the blade and the handle meet, and I developed a DNA mixture profile. And that means that DNA from more than 1 individual was present. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes were eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. I referred the data for this mixture profile to a separate analyst for evaluation with specialized software and for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan and any statistics if applicable.
Thank you. Going back to your test of the blade of the knife and the language that an individual could not be eliminated as a contributor, would you also be able to say that means it was a match to the contributors that you did identify?
That could be another term that could be used. Could not be eliminated, a match, an inclusion.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask you to take a look at what's been previously admitted as Commonwealth's 129. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes,
Okay, and this was the fitted sheet from the bedroom of Juliana Perez Magalhaes. Is that your understanding?
it is.
What areas of this sheet did you test?
I tested 5 stained areas. 4 of them were located inside that center area where there's a larger circle. And then 1 was located below the larger circle. And spermatozoa, which are the male reproductive cells, were identified in these 5 stained areas. I collected samples for DNA from 3 of the 5 areas, and I developed DNA profiles consistent with originating from common contributors. And because of that consistency, I selected the data from just 1 of the areas for further analysis and reporting. When I processed this sample, I used a method that attempts to separate the DNA information contained within the sperm cells from the DNA information contained within any other cell type present in the sample. So from the sperm fraction, I developed a DNA profile. Brendan Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of that profile. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as a contributor of that profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from the sperm fraction is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
All right, so Brendan Banfield's spermatozoa was identified on Juliana Perez Magalhaes' bedsheet.
He could not be eliminated as a contributor of that profile, and the other 3 individuals were eliminated.
Thank
For-
you. I'm sorry.
For the non-sperm fraction, I developed a DNA mixture profile, and Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes could not be eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan were each eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual who would be included as a contributor to this mixture profile is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion, and that was the case in each of the 3 population groups.
Thank you. Turning to item 91, the physical evidence recovery kit, or PERC, from Christine Banfield. When you examined the contents of that kit, what did you determine?
In the kit, there was a vaginal cervical sample, an anorectal sample, and an oral sample, and blood was indicated on the oral sample. The blood tests were inconclusive for the vaginal cervical and anorectal sample, and no male DNA was detected on any of these samples, so no further testing was conducted. There, in the kit, there was a left breast swab, a right breast swab, a swabbing of the back of the left hand, and a swabbing of the palm of the left hand, and blood was indicated on each of these samples. From each of these samples, I developed a full profile attributable to Christine Banfield, and there were types different from Christine Banfield. However, the types different were too limited for comparison purposes. I did determine at this stage in the testing that it was possible that male DNA was present in these samples.
And did you then set those samples aside for further testing?
I reported that male DNA was possibly present and that these may be suitable for further Y chromosome DNA testing.
All right. To go back for just a second, though, before we looked at the left backhand, right breast, left palm, the anorectal, oral, and vaginal sample, they were negative for male DNA. Is that correct?
No male DNA was detected.
Thank you. What did you test next?
Then there was the right back of the hand sample, the right palm sample, and 3 samples from the neck, and blood was indicated on each of these samples. From each of these samples, there was a full profile attributable to Christine Banfield. However, there was nothing different from Christine Banfield. For the right hand samples, the back of the hand and the palm, it was possible that male DNA was present. For the 3 next samples, no male DNA was detected.
Looking then at the fingernail clippings, what did you learn from your testing?
Blood was indicated in a sample of the right hand fingernail clippings and in a sample of the left hand fingernail clippings. And I developed a DNA profile, and the profile that I developed from these samples, there was a full profile attributable to Christine Banfield. There was nothing different from Christine Banfield. However, it was possible that male DNA was present in these 2 samples.
Thank you. Did you also test head hair, pubic combings?
No.
Okay. You then turned to the physical evidence recovery kit from Joseph Ryan. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And what item from that kit did you test first?
I tested them contemporaneous in time, but listed in the report is the genital penis sample. No blood was observed on this sample. And I developed full profiles that were attributable to Joseph Ryan. There was nothing foreign to Joseph Ryan.
From the genital penis sample?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. You then have reported on his right backhand, left backhand, right palm, and left palm. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what was determined from that testing?
Blood was indicated on each of those samples. There was a full profile attributable to Joseph Ryan in each of those samples. And then from each, the same profile different from Joseph Ryan was detected, and Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the different profile. Juliana Perez Magalhaes and Brendan Banfield were eliminated as contributors of the different profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile different from the hand samples of Joseph Ryan is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
And Joseph Ryan's fingernail clippings?
Yes, blood was indicated on the right hand fingernail clipping sample and on the left hand fingernail clipping sample. And I developed a full profile from each of these samples attributable to Joseph Ryan. And the same profile different from Joseph Ryan was developed from each of these samples. And Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the different profile. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes were eliminated as contributors of the different profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the different profile developed from each of the fingernail samples from Joseph Ryan is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
Thank you. Going to direct your attention to what's been previously admitted as Commonwealth 119. And this was a photograph at the scene of the crime of what I believe you tested as item 39, swab of stain on wall. You were also given what was photographed in Commonwealth's Exhibit 112, previously admitted. Items 42 and 43, swabs of stains from the carpet, and specifically from the carpet in front of the laundry basket. Now, tell us about your testing on these 3 swabs.
Blood was indicated on each of the swabs, and I developed the same DNA profile from each of the swabs. Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated as a contributor of the profile. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as a contributor of the profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from these 3 swabs is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
Okay, so that's Joseph Ryan's blood on the wall and these 2 locations on the carpet. Is that correct?
He can't be eliminated as a contributor, yes.
Thank you. I'd like to show you what was previously admitted as, one moment, Commonwealth's 120. This photograph in evidence was for item 41, the swab of stain from the front of the laundry basket. What testing did you perform there?
I conducted the blood testing and blood was indicated and a DNA mixture profile was developed. And Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated as contributors to that mixture profile. Juliana Perez Magalhaes and Brendan Banfield were eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual who would be included as a contributor to this mixture profile is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
All right, so that's Christine and Joe cannot be eliminated from this side of the basket. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Turning to Commonwealth's previously admitted 121, the photograph that shows us a different angle of the basket. You tested a swab from the side of the laundry basket as item 56. Is that correct?
It is.
And what profiles were present there?
Blood was indicated and I developed a DNA profile. Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the profile. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as a contributor of the profile. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from this stain swab is 1 in greater than 7.2 billion in each of the population groups.
All right, I'm going to ask you to take a look at Commonwealth's 103, previously admitted. Here we have the side of a bed frame. You were provided with a swab of a substance from that bed frame as item 71. Again, what did your test reveal?
Blood was indicated and a DNA mixture profile was developed. Juliana Perez Magalhaes and Brendan Banfield were eliminated as the contributors to the mixture profile. And for this mixture profile, I referred the data to another analyst for evaluation of the profile with specialized software and for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan and any statistics if applicable.
Thank you. This time, I'm going to have you take a look at Commonwealth's 161, a certificate of analysis from July 17th, 2023, and I would offer this into evidence as Commonwealth's 161.
Any objection? 161 in evidence.
All right, so this one's a little different. Tell us, what is Y chromosome testing?
A Y chromosome testing is a male-specific test, and it examines regions on the Y chromosome.
Why was that manner of testing employed in this case?
In my previous report, I had indicated that there were samples where it was possible that male DNA was present and that Y chromosome testing could be done, and that request was made for me to do that testing. And the Y chromosome testing can be useful in situations where larger amounts of female DNA are mixed with smaller amounts of male DNA, such that with the routine test, I either don't get any information from the male component or I get limited information that I can't use for comparison. So the advantage of the Y chromosome test is that it will ignore the female DNA and it just examines regions on the Y chromosome, which is found only in males. The disadvantage is that it's not as discriminating as the routine test. There's less diversity, and with this test, males in the same paternal line would be expected to have the same Y chromosome DNA profile.
Okay, so using this alternative method of testing, what did you learn from the knife?
First, I want to mention that for the known samples from Brendan Banfield and from Joseph Ryan, I developed Y chromosome DNA profiles that I used for comparison to the evidence profiles developed.
Thank you. And did you compare those profiles to the profile developed from the knife?
Yes, I developed Y chromosome DNA types from the sample that I recovered from the sharp edge of the blade. However, these types were not suitable for comparison because of the limited information obtained.
Okay, and then you took a look at the perk from Christine Banfield again, and specifically the fingernail clippings.
Yes.
Did that reveal any information?
So for the right hand fingernail clippings, a Y chromosome DNA mixture profile originating from more than one male was developed, and Brandon Banfield was eliminated as a contributor to this Y chromosome DNA mixture profile. Because my laboratory does not have a method to use to calculate statistics for this type of Y chromosome mixture profile, I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Joseph Ryan. For the left-hand fingernail clippings from Christine Banfield, a Y chromosome DNA mixture profile originating from more than one male was developed. However, this mixture profile was not suitable for comparison due to the unknown number of contributors.
All right, and then turning to her right breast, and left back hand samples.
Yes, so Y chromosome DNA mixture profiles originating from more than one male were developed from each of these samples, and there's insufficient information to draw a conclusion with respect to Brendan Banfield as a contributor to these Y chromosome DNA mixture profiles. And again, with these mixture profiles, because my laboratory doesn't have a method in use for calculating statistics for this kind of a Y chromosome mixture profile, I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Joseph Ryan.
Were you able to reach any conclusions for the right backhand and left palm sample?
Yes, Y chromosome DNA mixture profiles were developed, and I developed the same major Y chromosome DNA profile from each of these samples. And a major profile means that one of the contributors is contributing more of their DNA relative to the other, such that that profile can be clearly and easily determined. So Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated as a contributor of the major Y chromosome DNA profile developed from these two samples, nor could any of his male relatives in his paternal line. Brendan Banfield was eliminated as a contributor of the major profile developed from these two samples. And I followed there's a particular procedure for calculating the statistics for the Y chromosome, and it ultimately resulted in a frequency for the major Y chromosome DNA profile of approximately 1 in 2,800 male individuals in the Caucasian population, 1 in 2,300 male individuals in the African American population, and 1 in 2,000 male individuals in the Hispanic population. For the minor profiles, they weren't suitable for comparison, either due to the limited information obtained or to the complex nature.
Okay, and you looked at the right palm sample, but that one was not suitable for comparison, is that correct?
That's right, that was due to the complex nature and the limited information obtained. It was a DNA mixture, a Y chromosome DNA mixture profile that was developed from that sample.
Okay. We'll turn to what's being marked as Commonwealth's 162, certificate of analysis from February 5th, 2024.
Yes,
To offer that into evidence at this time as Commonwealth's 162.
Any objection? 162.
All right, do you recognize this document?
I do.
All right, Judge, I'd ask it be published if it has not yet already.
It is.
All right. Gonna try to move through this one a little bit more quickly because it wasn't as interesting, I think, for us. The swab of the cartridge casings did not present enough DNA for there to be testing. Is that correct?
That's correct. For the item 75, swab of the cartridge case, no blood was observed. For item 76, no blood was indicated. And then for this type of sample, which is called a DNA trace sample or a DNA touch sample, my laboratory has done a study and we've determined a threshold of DNA that must be present in order to proceed with the testing, because we know if we don't have that threshold met, we don't get useful results. And these two samples did not meet the threshold, so DNA analysis was discontinued.
All right, and the testing from Mr. Banfield's hand swabs, what did that reveal?
No blood was indicated on the right-hand swab or the left-hand swab. From the right-hand swab, a full profile attributable to Brendan Banfield was detected, and there was a profile different from Brendan Banfield, but it was of no value due to the unknown number of contributors and the limited information obtained. For the left-hand sample, a full profile attributable to Brendan Banfield was detected, and there was a mixture profile different from Brendan Banfield detected. And Juliana Perez Magalhaes and Joseph Ryan were eliminated as contributors to a different profile. For this profile, I'm not offering conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield, and that was due to laboratory resource management considerations. It would involve the software, and it didn't appear to me that it was particularly probative. However, if requested, that statistical analysis could have been done.
Okay, but we didn't dig into this. And were you aware that Mr. Banfield was permitted to wash his hands prior to the collection of these swabs?
I believe I was told that, yes.
Okay, and would that have affected your testing?
Washing could remove blood and DNA.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to direct you to Commonwealth's 131, previously admitted. All right, this photograph is of Mr. Banfield's coat, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the testing that you did on this item. You reported in your certificate that there were several testing locations. Are those locations marked on this photograph?
Most of them are. The only ones that aren't are the general swabbings that I made of the exterior of the left sleeve, the front and the rear, from about midway to the top of the sleeve.
Okay, so if we dig into your report then, can we talk about your testing of each of the areas on the coat? What did your testing reveal?
Yes, I was requested to examine the exterior back of the coat and the exterior of the sleeves, except for the cuff areas for blood and DNA. On the exterior back of the right sleeve, there were 2 red-brown stained areas, and blood was indicated in each of these areas. And I arbitrarily designated one as A and the other as B. And I developed DNA mixture profiles from each of these stained areas. And Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes were each eliminated as contributors to those mixture profiles. I referred the data from the mixture profile from stained area A to another analyst for analysis with the software for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan and any statistics, if applicable. For stained area B, for that stained area, I'm not sure if I mentioned that Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes were each eliminated as contributors to that profile. I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan, and that's because it was an approximately equivalent profile to stained area A, and to conserve lab resources and prevent redundancy, I'm not offering conclusions.
All right, what other areas of the jacket did you test?
There was an area on the exterior rear, the lower left side, and an area on the exterior rear on the upper left shoulder area. And these were discolored areas, and the blood tests were inconclusive for each of these areas. I developed DNA mixture profiles from each area. Joseph Ryan was eliminated as a contributor to each of these mixture profiles. For the mixture profile developed from the exterior and the lower left side, I referred the data for that mixture profile to another analyst for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield, Brendan Banfield, and Juliana Perez Magalhaes using the statistical software. For the area on the upper left shoulder area on the left side, that was an approximately equivalent mixture profile. So to avoid redundancy, I did not refer that mixture profile for further analysis, and I'm not offering any conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield, Brendan Banfield, or Juliana Perez Magalhaes.
All right.
There were 3 additional areas that I tested.
I'm sorry,
not
keep
sure-
going, more coat.
Yeah, on the exterior rear, the lower right side, and on the exterior front of the left sleeve and the exterior back of the left sleeve from midway to the top of the sleeve, blood was indicated in each of those 3 samples. And I did develop DNA mixture profiles. However, none of them were suitable for comparison due to the unknown number of contributors and the complex nature.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to have you take a look at Commonwealth's previously admitted 139, and we'll scroll through to 142. Do you recognize these items?
I do.
what was the result of the testing on the shoes of Juliana identified in your lab?
There were 16 stained areas across both of the shoes on the exterior bottoms and on the exterior lower front, rear, and back sides. Blood was indicated in each of those 16 areas. I developed DNA mixture profiles from each of those areas. 5 of them were not suitable for comparison due to the unknown number of contributors and the complexity. For the remaining 11, a major profile was developed, and Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of the major profile developed, and the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with the DNA profile matching the major profile developed from these 11 stained areas is 1 in approximately 7.2 billion in each of the 3 population groups. For 8 of the 11 areas, Juliana Perez Magalhaes, Brendan Banfield, and Joseph Ryan are eliminated as contributors of the major profiles. However, the minor profiles were not suitable for comparison, either due to the limited information obtained or to the complex nature. For the remaining 3, for 1, Juliana Perez Magalhaes, Brendan Banfield, and Joseph Ryan were eliminated from the mixtures as a whole. For the remaining 2, Joseph Ryan and Juliana Perez Magalhaes were eliminated as contributors of the mixture profiles as a whole. And I'm not offering conclusions with respect to Brendan Banfield and those mixture profiles, and that was due to laboratory resource management reasons.
Okay, let's take a look at what I would like to offer as, here we go, Commonwealth's 164, Certificate of Laboratory Analysis from June 10th, 2024.
Any objection to 164? All right, 164 in evidence.
Thank you. All right, the testing just keeps coming. In this particular instance, you tested item 24, the fitted sheet. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right, this is the sheet from the primary bedroom. Is that your understanding?
it is.
What were the results of your testing, this time for blood, right?
Yes, I was asked to test a specific red-brown area. It was on the exterior of one of the corners, and blood was indicated in the sample, and I developed a DNA mixture profile. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes were eliminated as contributors to the mixture profile, and I referred the data for this mixture profile to another analyst for evaluation with this specialized software and for conclusions with respect to Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan and any statistics if applicable.
Okay. Item 118, the sneaker insert from the tennis shoe of Juliana. This time you were testing not the outside of the shoe, but rather the inside. Is that correct?
I was asked to test the staining on the left sneaker insert.
All right, I'm going to direct your attention to Commonwealth's 143, previously admitted, just so we can see what you're talking about. Was this the object that you tested?
Yes,
Okay, tell us about the results.
there were 2 red-brown stained areas. One is within that circle that you see on the screen, and another area above the staining above that area. And blood was indicated in each of those areas. And DNA mixture profiles were developed with the same major profile, and Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor as a major contributor to those mixture profiles. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as major contributors to the mixture profiles. And the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the major profile developed from these 2 areas from the insert is 1 in greater than 8.1 billion in each of the 3 population groups. My laboratory had undergone a revision of its manuals, and the approximation of the world population had been updated from 7.2 to 8.1. The minor profiles developed from each of these areas were not suitable for comparison due to the limited information, or I'm sorry, I believe it's for the complex nature of the information.
Thank you. I'm going to direct your attention to Commonwealth's previous exhibits 134, 135, and 136. So here's 134, 135, 136. And we'll start back with 135. These are Brendan Banfield's genes. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And looking at this photograph, we have a close-up of 5 spots. Is that accurate?
yes,
Okay. Did you test those spots individually?
I did.
And how did you identify those spots in your testing?
Well, I was directed to examine these 5 stains and an additional 6 stain on the rear of the jeans near the waistband. And I labeled them from top to bottom. I designated them A, B, C, D, and E.
Okay, and so that would be, if you see my cursor, A, B, C, D, and E, is that accurate?
Right, for the area on the exterior front of the right pant leg.
Okay, and then we had this spot on the back, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that was tested as well.
Yes.
Okay, and what did your testing reveal?
Blood was indicated in each of the stains. I developed 4 single source profiles. It was the same single source profile. From the remaining 2 areas, I developed mixtures with the same major profile, which was also the same profile as the single source profile developed from the 4 previous stains. And Christine Banfield could not be eliminated as a contributor of this profile, and the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed is 1 in greater than 8.1 billion in each of the 3 population groups. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as contributors to this profile. For the 2 areas where there were mixtures, the minor profiles were not suitable for comparison due to the limited information obtained.
Okay, so let's talk about this for just a second, because we have 5 blood droplets, for lack of a better description, and you're telling us that you found a major profile and that was Christine Banfield, or that she could not be eliminated, but you did find a minor profile. Were you surprised to find a minor contributor here to these seemingly singular drops of blood?
The minor profiles were very limited. The testing is sensitive, so it's not unusual to see that. And in order to test these, they were so small and they weren't absorbing well onto a swab. I actually had to cut through the material. So there could have been some trace DNA on the interior of the pants that I might be detecting.
All right, because these pants were on someone when they were collected, correct? To your knowledge?
That would be my understanding. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to comment in 5. Do you recognize this photo?
I do.
Okay. And this is Joseph Ryan's backpack, is that correct?
Correct.
Does the circle mark the area from which you drew your samples?
That was the area that I was asked to test, and I took a representative sample of the red-brown staining, and blood was indicated. And Joseph Ryan couldn't be eliminated as a contributor of the profile that I developed from this stained area. The other 3 individuals were eliminated as contributors to this DNA profile, and the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with a DNA profile matching the profile developed from the stained area on the backpack is 1 in greater than 8.1 billion in each of the 3 population groups.
All right. I believe you had 1 additional sheet, but that did not indicate any positive profiles, or there were not any profiles developed from the items that were tested. In that case, the over-the-ear hearing protection, Juliana's socks, and the stain swab from the Hyundai. Is that correct?
From the socks, I developed profiles, mixture profiles, but they weren't suitable for comparison due to the complexity and/or the complex nature. For the over-the-ear hearing protection, I collected a sample from the ear cushions, but that profile did not meet the quantitation threshold in order to continue the testing, so DNA analysis was discontinued.
Okay, and we'll just go ahead and make sure that everyone has everything. That's what would be Commonwealth's 163, the certificate of laboratory analysis from April 2nd, 2024, offered in evidence.
Any objection? All right, in evidence.
All right, I believe I do not have any further questions. Doctor, thank you so much. I'm sorry, Ms. Colombo, thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate your
All right.
answer any questions that Mr. Carroll might have for you at
We
this
will
time.
do that after afternoon break.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and take our 15-minute break. Please do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research.
All right. Sorry, I was off camera because I was eating. It's a long day, these courts are, and I thought I will just eat while things are going on. So I'll go ahead and pause just really quickly. So very interesting that just really interesting. So the knife could be a couple of things. Anyways, it's not indicative that I don't know. It's I'm still unclear. Could Joe have been the one that unalived Christine? All right, it's cross time. Hopefully this won't be as clunky. We have less than an hour to go.
Don't have any Colombo?
Miss,
Ms. Colombo?
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions about your lab sheets. We've discussed this before, so I appreciate that. I do have a question, though, regarding transfer DNA. Would you be able to talk about that?
yes.
Okay. And I'll just give you a factual scenario. If you have the same mixture on someone's hand and that hand hits someone on a certain part of the body, would you expect transfer in the same identifying amounts from the hand to the body?
So the ability to develop DNA profiles as a result of transfer, it's dependent on a number of unpredictable variables. So if the hand with the stain was still wet and it was very soon that the contact was made, I would suspect, well, with each transfer, there's a loss of information, but I would expect that sample to transfer.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only question I have.
Oh.
So no redirect then?
Okay.
All right, is this witness subject to recall?
She is not. Thank you.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you, Ms. Coleman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your next witness?
Wow.
Dr. Susan Greenspan, please.
Okay. That was 14. We're on 15. We're on some doctor, somebody another. Wow. Okay. Oh, where's Zoom?
Good afternoon, Doctor. Could you please
afternoon.
state and spell your name for the court record?
Susan Greenspoon, it's Susan and Greenspon.
Thank you. What is your current occupation and where are you employed?
I'm a forensic molecular biologist at the Virginia Department of Forensic Science.
How long have you been with DFS?
I've been with DFS for over 24 years now.
All right. And did you have employment in the area of forensic testing prior to DFS?
Yes, I worked at the Detroit Police Department Crime Lab for 6 years prior to joining DFS.
Okay. Outside of your formal education, did you receive any training to work at DFS?
Well, I was trained as a DNA examiner at the Detroit Police Department Crime Lab prior to coming to DFS. And so I was a court-qualified DNA examiner. So once I got to DFS, I was already qualified as a DNA examiner, but I did receive additional training for various specialties, such as probabilistic genotype software analysis and other special types of casework activities that I performed at DFS. I did receive additional training for that.
Okay, thank you. What are your responsibilities at the Department of Forensic Science?
My primary responsibilities are to head the research and validation program for the forensic biology unit. I also perform specialized casework such as for probabilistic genotyping and relationship testing statistical analysis. I mentor graduate students primarily through Virginia Commonwealth University master's program, and I help troubleshoot various technical problems that occur in the laboratory, and then also assist the program manager when, on specific kinds of tasks that may need my assistance.
Thank you. Have you ever testified as an expert before?
Yes, I have.
Have you testified in Fairfax County as an expert?
Yes, I have.
Do you know approximately how many times?
I've testified over 60 times, approximately 70 times, I guess.
All right, thank you. Judge, at this time, I would offer Dr. Greenspoon as an expert in the field of forensic science and DNA analysis.
Any objection? All right, so moved.
Thank you. All right, so we've heard a little bit about DNA testing using the PowerPlex fusion amplification system. You, however, in the testing that you did in this case, used the True Allele casework system. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between PowerPlex and True Allele?
Well, the PowerPlex fusion system is used to generate the DNA profiles. It's used in combination with with a PCR thermocycler, a machine that uses the chemicals and the specific components of the Powerplex fusion system to generate millions of copies of specific regions of the DNA that vary among people. And that's what we use for human identification analysis. That's what Powerplex fusion is used for. What the TrueAllele casework system does is it takes the raw data produced by the instrumentation used to visualize those DNA samples, and it utilizes that data to model forensic casework samples. So it models the DNA mixture samples in such a way that allows it to separate out the DNA profiles for the unknown contributors to that mixture. So if you have multiple contributors to a DNA sample that's a forensic unknown casework sample, a program such as TrueAllele that performs probabilistic genotyping will propose a model to explain that DNA mixture in terms of the DNA profiles for the contributors to that mixture. So it models it, it proposes a model, it tests that model using probability assessments, and then it changes the model, and then it tests it, and it does this, iteratively, repeatedly for millions of times. And so it does it millions of times, it proposes a model, it tests it to see how well does it explain this mixture, and then it does this over and over and over. And at the end of its analysis, the software program analysis, then it comes up with the most likely DNA profiles for these unknown contributors to this DNA sample.
All right, so in this case, you were provided with items that had been previously tested and resulted in mixture of profiles that you then used TrueAllele to sort out. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. For comparison, what did you receive from the 4 potential individuals in this case from whom you then had to, or from which you then had to develop profiles?
The DNA profiles in this case were developed by Ms. Colombo. She performed all the DNA analysis. She provided electronic data from the instrument itself that the instrument produced when it was visualizing and separating out and visualizing these DNA products, these DNA typing products. So she provided that electronic data to me for analysis for the specific samples that were earmarked for TrueAllele analysis, this TrueAllele casework probabilistic genotyping system. So she provided those to me that electronic data to me on a secured server that we all can access in forensic biology around the state. And she also provided copies, hard copies, printed copies of the DNA profiles that she developed, because I'm dealing with the raw data that I upload to the software program, but then she provides with the DNA profiles that she generated. So I have a bigger picture of what's been developed on the DNA testing side in the case.
Okay, so let's turn to what I'm going to display here as Commonwealth's 165. I'd like to offer into evidence at this point in time the certificate of analysis dated June 7th, 2024.
Any objection? All right, so entered.
All right, so reviewing this certificate of analysis, I see that you were comparing buccal samples, or at least the data as you have described that was previously analyzed and produced, shared with you, that resulted in profiles for Brendan Banfield, Juliana Magalhaes, Christine Banfield, and Joseph Ryan, for comparison with then the sample from the coat from Brendan Banfield. Is that correct?
Yes, that
Okay.
is correct.
And what did your testing reveal?
If I can refer to my copy article, if you scroll. So
Your preference, I can either, I don't know if you can.
this
read
is
it.
fine.
Okay.
So I want to just provide a little bit more information about this process, because the TrueAllele casework probabilistic genotyping software program separates out and generates the most likely DNA profiles for these unknown contributors to this mixture. After that work is done, then a comparison is made to reference samples, known DNA profiles for persons of interest. The comparison is, so the probabilistic genotyping system simplifies these mixtures. And then comparisons are made then to the analyzed mixture sample in the form of a likelihood ratio using these reference samples. This report reports the likelihood ratio values. A likelihood ratio compares 2 alternative explanations for the DNA, the forensic DNA sample, the mixture sample, based on this comparison with this reference. sample with the person of interest. So the first, the two different alternative explanations are that the probability of generating this, or the probability of observing this DNA mixture profile if the person of interest is a contributor, versus the alternate explanation, which is the probability of observing this DNA mixture if somebody else, not that person of interest, is a contributor. So the likelihood ratio can be over 1, and that lends support to the first explanation, or it can be below 1, and that lends support for the alternate explanation. So the larger the value, the stronger the support for the first explanation in this case.
All right, so looking at the results that were produced from the testing on Mr. Banfield's jacket, we looked, I believe the area that was first reported was the testing on the exterior rear lower left side of the coat.
Yes, so on evaluation of the mixture profile, I told the software program that I estimated there to be 3 contributors to this mixture. That was from my human evaluation of this, the DNA profile generated by Ms. Colombo. So assuming the DNA profile that was previously developed from an area on the exterior rear and lower left side of Brendan Banfield's coat is a mixture of 3 unknown contributors, then the true allele casework system objectively inferred genotypes solely from these data. So we do perform duplicate analyses. We're required to generate at least 2 concordant analyses that they confirm each other's results. So following these duplicate reproducible analyses, then the computer then compared each inferred contributor genotype to the provided reference genotypes of Brendan Banfield, Juliana Magalhaes, and Christine Banfield relative to the reference populations to compute the likelihood ratio match statistics. So based on these results, Brendan Banfield cannot be eliminated as a contributor to this DNA mixture profile, and the DNA profile developed from an area on the exterior rear lower left side of Brendan Banfield's coat at the Powerplex fusion loci is approximately 21 million times more likely if it originated from Brendan Banfield and 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the Caucasian population than if it originated from 3 unrelated unknown individuals in the Caucasian population. Then it's 1 billion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Brendan Banfield and 2 unrelated individuals in the African-American population than if it originated from 3 unrelated unknown individuals in the African-American population. And then finally, it's 29 million times more likely to be observed if it originated from Brendan Banfield and 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the Hispanic population than if it originated from 3 unrelated unknown individuals in the Hispanic population.
Okay, so if we boil that down, Brendan Banfield is on Brendan Banfield's coat.
Well, there is statistical DNA and statistical support that for the explanation that Mr. Banfield is on Mr. Banfield's coat.
Okay, but more than that was found, right?
Yes.
And without going into the population and probabilistic information, we saw that the other profiles that were developed were from who?
Well, then similarly, a comparison with this mixture sample was made with Ms. Magalhaes' reference DNA profile. These values wound up being considered, based on our internal validation testing, to be uninformative or inconclusive. They were not large values. And so these values were 310 times more likely.
Okay, so we could identify that Juliana's DNA was inconclusive. We weren't able to necessarily make a match there. Is that fair?
We would state it as it was just uninformative. We can't draw conclusions
Okay.
as to whether there's support or not for that.
Thank you. How about Christine's DNA?
So for Christine's DNA, the statistics were 18 billion times more likely for this profile to be a DNA mixture profile to be observed if it originated from Christine Banfield and 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the Caucasian population than if it originated from 3 unrelated unknown individuals in the Caucasian population.
So in our mixture, we have most likely Brendan and Christine. Is that accurate? I know I'm dumbing down the science here and I apologize, but to just be as simplified about it as we can.
We would say that the the TrueAllele casework probabilistic genotyping analysis provided support, statistical support for Christine Banfield and Brendan Banfield to be contributors to this mixture.
All right, and then we looked at the stain A from the coat. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right.
from of the two, stain A of the two stained areas, approximately midway.
Right, and again, certainly not trying to limit the extensive effort that you put in here to determine the results, but as a summary, whose DNA could not be eliminated from consideration as a contributor to the mixture at stain A?
Well, at stain A then, Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan cannot be eliminated as contributors to this stain A.
Thank you. I'd like to direct your attention to what I will offer into evidence as Commonwealth's 167. And I'm sorry, Your Honor, can I confirm that we just did 166?
No, we did
Well,
165.
that's what I felt like. Okay. Thank you, Judge. In which case, let me look at 166. That is not what I want. So I am going to jump, Judge, to Exhibit 167. And if I can take just a step back. All right, we're going to go with 166. Judge, at this time, I would offer Commonwealth's 166 into evidence.
All right, any objection to 166?
Yeah, sorry.
But I think to the
The
top.
other way to the top. Certificate of analysis dated June 17th, 2024.
No objection, okay, no objection to 166. So 166 is no.
Thank you. Dr. Greenspan, do you recognize this document?
Yes,
Okay. And here we are again using TrueAllele to learn more about the blood that was tested by by Ms. Colombo on the fitted sheet from the master bedroom. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Okay. Tell us what we learned about the mixture profiles that were present on the sheet in the blood sampled here.
Okay, on the sheet,
Do you need me to scroll back up just a bit?
it's okay, for this, the representative sample from a stained area on the sheet, I estimated there to be 2 contributors to this mixture sample. And so based on the TrueAllele analysis, Christine Banfield cannot be eliminated as a contributor to this DNA mixture profile. And the DNA profile developed from a representative sample of the stained area on the exterior of one of the corners of the sheet of the Powerplex fusion loci is approximately 12 septillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Christine Banfield and one unrelated unknown individual in the Caucasian population than if it originated from 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the Caucasian population, and 6.3 octillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Christine Banfield and 1 unrelated unknown individual in the African American population than if it originated from 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the African American population, and then 160 septillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Christine Banfield and 1 unrelated unknown individual in the Hispanic population than if it originated from 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the Hispanic population.
Okay. And then who was the other contributor?
And then the other individual who could not be eliminated as a contributor to this mixture was Joseph Ryan, and the values were 530 sextillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Joseph Ryan and 1 unrelated unknown individual in the Caucasian population than if it originated from 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the Caucasian population, and 960 septillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Joseph Ryan and 1 unrelated unknown individual in the African American population than if it originated from 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the African American population. And then finally, it was 6.1 septillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Joseph Ryan
Bed
and 1
frame.
unrelated unknown individual in the Hispanic population than if it originated from 2 unrelated unknown individuals in the Hispanic population.
Thank you. I'm going to direct your attention to Commonwealth's 167. And before offering that into evidence, I'm just going to scroll down so you can take a look at it. I believe you've had the opportunity
Shoot.
to look at it before today, but let me
Yes.
ask you, do you know Lisa Schermeyer Wood?
Yes, she's a colleague of mine at the Virginia Department of Forensic Science.
Okay. And this document, Commonwealth's 167, was this drafted by Lisa Schermeyer Wood?
Yes, this is her certificate of analysis.
Have you had the opportunity to review it, and are you comfortable reporting her findings to the court?
Yes, I did review her case file.
Okay.
prior to coming in here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Judge, at this time, Commonwealth would offer as Commonwealth's 167,
She needs a
certificate laboratory
tissue.
analysis dated July 13th, 2023.
Any objection? All right, 167 in evidence.
All right, thank you. All right, what was tested here? The swab from the stain on the side of the bed frame, is that correct?
And the knife.
And the
Oh.
knife. And what, as I scroll down to a stopping point, were the results of the testing on the mixture profile from the underside of the handle of the knife
Oh, the
near the
knife.
juncture of the blade and the handle?
Okay. And the stain was designated B3. And the estimate was that it's a mixture of 2 unknown contributors.
And I think we can probably, looking at these numbers, again, we're talking about octillions and septillions. These feel like very convincing numbers to me. Are they pretty strong?
Those are large values, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so without diving into the values, were you able to determine who the 2 contributors were here to the stain on the underside of the knife?
Well, the program, True Little Casework, doesn't identify an individual, but it does analyze and compare to the reference
Right.
profile, and
Can't say
the
this.
likelihood ratio generates support for one explanation or the other. And in this case, the likelihood ratios for both, we lost the report.
Yep, I see that. It's telling me that the battery is running low and it's plugged in.
Okay, so the likelihood ratios generated showed statistical support for the explanation of both Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan as contributors to this stain, or the stain B on the knife handle. B3, sorry, the stain B3 on the knife handle.
Sorry, bear with me here for just a second. I'm just gonna go through every possible
Good, she got a
combination.
tissue. Yay! Okay, not Brendan. Was he wearing, well, he had blood on his hands. Was he wearing gloves? And then took them
I
off?
got it. All right. So we established our contributors to the stain on the underside of the knife. How about when we looked at the stain from the swab, sorry, the swab of the stain from the side of the bed frame?
So based on the true allele analysis, using the DNA profile data generated by Ms. Colombo, the swab from the side of the bed frame was estimated to be a mixture of 2 people. And based on these results, the true allele casework analysis results, Christine Banfield cannot be eliminated as a contributor to this DNA mixture, and Joseph Ryan also cannot be eliminated as a contributor to this DNA mixture.
Thank you. I want to go back really quick on the knife. We have a mixture, we have contributors. The sample is identified as blood on the underside of the handle near the blade / handle juncture. Can you be certain that the mixture of DNA was extracted from blood and not skin cells?
It could be a combination of blood and skin cells. It could be just blood, since blood was detected. So we can't actually discern that.
Okay, thank you. Judge, I do not believe I have any additional questions for this witness.
All right,
Please answer any questions Mr. Carroll might have.
cross-examination, do you have any? No questions. All right, is this witness subject to recall?
She is not.
Is she subject to recall, Mr. Carroll? Okay, you're free to go. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
All right, your next witness,
Madeline Crowley.
Madeline Crowley.
Wow, that
ma'am.
was okay. Huh. So far, the only sort of thing that we have is the knife is Christine and Joe Ryan's. The bed frame is Christine and Joe Ryan's. The fitted sheet is Christine and Joe Ryan's. The coat has Brendan and Christine's, and then the other part has Christine and Joe Ryan's blood on it. But I mean, it's not like massive, right? It's not huge. It's just like a little bit. So if it wasn't for Juliana saying that Brendan, Christine, so far I don't know. I have reasonable doubt. Let's see what comes in.
And Your Honor, if I may address the court, it had been my intention before calling the first witness to alert the court to Mr. Carroll has agreed that Mr. Gundekunst is no longer subject to recall.
Okay,
And so
all
we'd
right,
ask he be released.
All right, is that true? All right, I'll make that notation. It'll be noted on the record.
Thank you.
Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law? I do. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm good, thank you.
Can you please state and spell your name for the court record?
My name is Madeline Crowley, Madeline Crowley.
Thank you. What is your current occupation and where are you employed?
I am a senior DNA analyst and a DNA analyst trainer at Bodie Technology.
How long have you been employed at Bodie?
I've been employed for about 7.5 years.
All right. Did you have any experience in analyzing DNA prior to working for Bodie?
No, I began working the year that I graduated, and I graduated with a degree where I learned and had experience in the DNA analysis process.
All right. What are your responsibilities as a DNA analyst for Bodie?
As a DNA analyst, I am responsible for directing and overseeing the in-lab processing of casework samples, analyzing the results, performing comparisons and statistics as needed, documenting the findings in a formal report, and testifying as needed.
Did Bodie have you go through any training programs when you came to work for them?
Yes, Bodie has a very thorough training program that lasts approximately 6 months. I was required to attend lectures, read required readings, observe qualified individuals in each procedure that I was training in. I then was required to complete 3 sets of mock cases from start to finish, meaning from receiving the evidence, doing that in-lab processing, doing my interpretations, and writing the reports. These 3 sets, the first was a supervised set where I was observed by a qualified individual. The next was unsupervised, and the last was a competency set where I was to complete all casework independently. After successful completion of these 3 sets, I then was required to take a written exam on theory of procedure, complete a verbal exam on troubleshooting complex scenarios, and participate in a mock trial from one of the cases in my competency set. And I was required to have earned an 80% or higher on all of those exams, and I did satisfactorily and became qualified as an analyst.
Thank you. Have you ever testified as an expert before?
I have.
All right. I'm going to ask at this time that Ms. Crowley be admitted as an expert in DNA analysis.
Any objection? All right, so moved.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about Bodie. We've heard from DFS. Is Bodie established here in Virginia?
Yes.
Okay. And how long have they been performing DNA testing?
Since 1995, so about 31 years.
Okay. Are they accredited?
Yes, we are.
All right. Does your lab have a quality assurance process to ensure the reliability of their testing?
Yes, we do.
I'm going to ask you, was Bodie Technology given items of evidence to analyze for this case?
Yes, we were.
I'm going to direct you to what is marked as Commonwealth's Exhibit 168, a certificate of analysis from December 21st, 2023. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
All right, Commonwealth would offer that into evidence at this time.
Any objection? All right,
All right.
168 in evidence.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to shift for just a second back over to what was previously admitted as Commonwealth's 150, Joe Ryan's jeans. Does this photo accurately depict the items that were received by Bodie for testing?
Yes, it does.
Okay, what areas of this item were sampled?
So within the red-brown staining on the upper right thigh of the jeans, we took 2 samples. We sampled one area within that red-brown staining, and we sampled another area between and around that red-brown staining.
And did you receive samples for comparison?
Yes, we did not receive physical samples to test. We received submitted DNA profiles for comparison.
And what were the results and conclusions from the sample of the jeans leg avoiding staining? So not the red-brown, but the area outside the red-brown.
May I refer, Your Honor, may I
Yes.
refer to my report?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Thank
I can
you.
switch back over to it, or if you have your own copy. All right, where would you like me to stop?
The number 2.
Page 2?
No, the
Sorry,
number 2
Number
and
2,
results.
there you go. I think that gets most of it in there.
Yes. So the DNA profile obtained from, this is the portion avoiding the red-brown staining, is consistent with a mixture of 3 or more individuals with a major mixture component of 2 individuals, including a major male contributor. This deduced major component DNA profile matches the DNA profile provided for Joseph Ryan. The probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with this DNA profile is at least 1 in 180 septillion in the US population. The deduced minor component DNA profile matches the DNA profile for Christine Banfield. The probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with this DNA profile is at least 1 in 83 sextillion in the US population. There were 2 locations that we tested not used in that statistical calculation due to the inability to resolve a minor component. Brendan Banfield and Julia Magalhaes are excluded as possible contributors to the major mixture component DNA profile deduced from the sample listed above. And due to the possibility of allelic dropout, no conclusions can be made on the minor alleles that are not part of the major mixture.
All right, so let's talk really quickly about major and minor. We talked about this on the phone at one point. Does it inherently mean that there is more of the substance being tested, let's say blood, if it's a major contributor, and less DNA in the substance being tested if it's a minor contributor?
So a major contributor is able to be deduced when we have more of that component than the rest of the profile. So yes, being able to pull a major component means that there was more DNA from that component, that individual, in the evidence sample.
Okay, but again, more DNA, not necessarily more blood or
Correct, more DNA.
skin cells, more anything. It's specifically if we were to take a pin dot, it's within that pin dot of matter that you're testing that you see a minor and major contributor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You also tested the red-brown staining itself. What were the results of that testing?
The DNA profile obtained is consistent with a mixture of 3 or more individuals with a major mixture component of 2 individuals, including a major male contributor. The deduced major component DNA profile matches the DNA profile provided for Joseph Ryan. The probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with this DNA profile is at least 1 in 180 septillion in the US population. This deduced minor component DNA profile matches the DNA profile provided for Christine Banfield. The probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual with this DNA profile is at least 1 in 12 sextillion in the US population. The following loci were not used in the statistical calculation. There were 4 locations not used in this statistical calculation due to the inability to resolve a minor component. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Magalhaes are excluded as possible contributors to the major mixture component of that DNA profile. And due to the possibility of allelic dropout, no conclusions can be made on the minor alleles that were not part of that major mixture component.
Thank you. Quick question. Do you know why Fairfax County sent this item to your lab, Bodie Technologies, rather than leaving it with DFS?
Specifically for this case, no, we were not informed why they chose to have us process the case. However, this is typical. As we are a private lab, we receive requests from state labs to do processing.
Thank you, Judge. I have no further questions of this witness.
All right, cross-examination. All right, is she subject to recall then?
She is not.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you, ma'am. Have a good
Thank
day.
Thank you.
You have another
Okay,
witness?
so
Judge, I just have a stipulated document that I'd like to put into evidence.
Okay.
Judge, at this time, I would like to offer into evidence as Commonwealth's 169, a report from DNA Labs International, previously referred to by our witness, Mr. Leach, as DLI, specifically the testing of the zipper, button, and waistband area of the blue
Yeah.
jeans from Joseph Ryan, which indicated the presence of DNA from Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan. Brendan Banfield and Juliana were excluded as contributors. The mixture profile was tested using stir mix, and the probabilistic information is contained within the report.
All right, any objection then? All right, 169 is in evidence
And at that point in time, Judge, the Commonwealth is out of witnesses
for today.
for today.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 4:30. We can go ahead and break. We're actually going to be breaking until Tuesday now because you don't come tomorrow, so you get the day off. And we will reconvene on Tuesday since Monday is a holiday. Okay, so make sure you are here early on Monday. I am going to read you a few instructions. This is the same instruction I gave you the first day when you were impaneled, just a little longer so we can remember my order and remember what your obligations are during this weekend. Okay, so you are not to read anything about this case. You are not to watch anything about this case. You are not to listen to anything about this case. This applies to television, newspapers, magazines, the internet, and any online sites. Further, you're not to read, watch, or listen to anything about this case on any social networking site or streaming service. In addition, you must not communicate with anyone about the case, whether in person, over the phone, by email, text, or instant messaging, or by any other electronic or non-electronic means. This includes your fellow jurors, friends, family, coworkers, acquaintances, and strangers. I also instruct you that you cannot do any research or make any inquiries about this case, whether online or by any other means. For example, you cannot look up information up on the internet that is related to this case or related to the persons involved in this case. You cannot do your own type of demonstrations or trying to figure out things on your own. Please don't do that. Nor may you consult dictionaries or other reference materials. What you learn in this case is limited to what you learn in the four walls of this courtroom when proceedings are underway. Okay, so make sure you understand that. Just have a restful weekend. Please take care of yourselves, keep yourselves healthy, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Okay, thank you. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, let's zoom.
My,
Shannon,
See.
so for most of them, we have this.
electronic
Okay.
files, Ms. Sands to Shannon, so we can
We've
take care.
already handed over most of them. We have this last batch.
All right. All right, I assume we are still on track.
Judge, I have 2 remaining witnesses. My first witness will take, my guess is probably an hour of my time to direct, and then Mr. Carroll's time in prompts. My second witness will then take approximately 15 minutes. And they're both, and at that point in time, I will do the rest.
You would rest upon after those 2 witnesses. So we are far ahead of schedule, I would say. All right, so then are you prepared for, it sounds like Tuesday afternoon to be able to put on evidence? Okay,
I will say this.
yeah, you need to use the microphone, sir. I know you like to walk around. I apologize.
That I anticipate while hearing their witness, and it's related to one of the motions that we had previously, so they're
Okay.
going to be specific.
Do you want to avoid the witness outside the presence of the jury?
That would be a good idea.
Okay, do we want to do that? Is that your first witness on Monday?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe when we come in at 10 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call her as a witness first and do the voir dire first. And then after we
Tuesday,
resolve
Monday,
whatever, we can bring the jury in then for whatever testimony is allowed.
Yes.
Does that sound okay?
That sounds great.
And you'll be ready to go for
I'll be ready.
Tuesday afternoon. I'm sorry, not Monday, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday afternoon.
If Your Honor has told the jury to come at 10, would you prefer to have the witness present early?
No, I don't think the voir dire, at least from the experience I've had so far in this case, I don't think the voir dire will take very long of the witness. So I think we can work that out pretty quickly. So I'd rather them be here on time and they can just stay back there for a few minutes. That's fine. All right. Okay. All right. Enjoy your weekend then.
Yes, thank you,
We'll
Judge.
see you on Tuesday.
All right. Woohoo! We're caught up. Woohoo! All right. So, we're almost 2 hours in. Okay. So, what did we learn? We learned a whole bunch of nothing and something. So, lots of DNA evidence. And I mean, just like, I just don't know. So, on the knife, it's got Christina and Joe's DNA. It doesn't have Brendan's. On Joe's pants, it's Christina and Joe. On the zipper, it's Christina and Joe. That okay. Just I just don't know. I just don't know. So I'm baffled by that. So if Juliana Magalhaes did not testify that Brendan was the one that had, if Brendan wasn't the one that unalived Christina with the knife, so far I am not convinced that he did it, because you would think that he would have a lot of blood splatter on his jacket, right? If that's what he was wearing, unless he had some other clothes on, which they didn't discuss. I'm baffled. I'm really baffled by it. So let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. So that is the end of our stream. The Banfield trial will not begin until Tuesday. So we'll see you back here on Tuesday for the Banfield trial. And it looks like it's going to end sometime next week, maybe. So yay! So make sure you like and subscribe for more content. See you later. Thanks for watching Legalese 123. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe for more content.